Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by Dr. Salah Abdallah, the political analyst and former MP. A very good afternoon to you, Doctor.
Good afternoon, welcome.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Now, Doctor, Egyptians and 13 governorates are voting in the last and final day in the parliamentary elections to choose their representatives. How have you followed the voting process so far?
Well, the voting was going well. In the returning back of voting, the competition usually is very strong,
Yes.
especially in the rural areas.
Yes.
That's why, and this is normal in every election.
Absolutely.
So this time the election was normal. The competition was very hard, and we hope that the voters had been choosing the proper and the best candidates for the parliament.
Absolutely.
Of course, this election is very important because the parliament is the room number one in Egypt, and to choose the and to complete the election, this is a very good step in our democratic building. You know, Parliament is the top of the political affairs, and we hope that the new members will do their own best, because Egypt now is in a very tough competition for growing. You know, President Abdallah al-Sisi having a great projects to Egypt, and this will put on the parliament a great load, because many laws and many agreements with foreign countries need to be examined and to be done. So the parliament will have a tough and hard work in the coming year.
Yes.
So of course, by election today, we can say that we are finishing the construction of the parliament, and we're hoping that this will lead to a strong and suitable parliament for the coming period.
Absolutely. Dr. Salah, how have you followed the precautionary measures, of course, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic that is all over the world? Lots of precautionary measures are being set, and voters are following very clearly the safety precautionary measures against the COVID-19. How do you see the importance of these measures and their implementation on the ground at the polling stations?
Well, of course, the precautions from COVID-19 is very important now, because, as you know, the world now is in the second attack of COVID-19, and Egypt is in the start of that attack. So we observe that the people themselves are now more cautious than before, and of course the government and the Ministry of Health, they are taking precautions in the centers of voting. The people are away from each other. They are using the masks. Cleaning of the centers is usually done every day. They are using the alcohol. So the measures are going well, and there is great knowledge now in the people and about the COVID-19, and this was helping in the voting today. That the picture is more better, and the people are behaving more cautious, because against the disease.
Absolutely. Dr. Salah, speaking of the youngsters and the members of the youth, how do you weigh the youth's engagement in the country's current political life, and how do you see their representation?
Well, of course, the parliament now is including a great number of the youth than before. I think the greatest number of youth in the parliament was in the last parliament and in the coming parliament, which is going now. This is, of course, a great push. And, you know, we have two rooms now. Room number one is the parliament. Room number two is the Senate. The parliament is the place of the youth politicians. The Senate is the place of the old politicians. So the parliament, of course, having a great number of youth, And this is, I consider it a great push for them to practice and to share in the political life and give a positive sign to our young generation that the future is for them.
Absolutely.
And they can they can share, and they can learn, and they can do their own best for the helping of the people through the representatives of the young generation in the parliament.
Yes.
So the big picture now is much, much better than before for the young generation.
Absolutely. Now, one final question, if I may, Doctor. The elections witnessed the presence of international observers as well as international media and human rights officials. How important is their presence in your opinion, and what is your take on their reactions throughout this process?
The representative of the observers was plenty from the many countries in the world.
Yes.
And their own visits to the centers was very easy and helpful, either from the people or from the government. And I see that the election was going well. There is no much problems and no interference. Everything is going smoothly.
Yes.
So I think the reaction of the observers is completely positive about the election in Egypt, because really the election was positive and there is no negative observation. And if there's any problems, it was very minor. Like any country in the world, there is sometimes some problems, and mostly because of the severe competition between two members in one of the governorate or one of the states. But there is no intervention from the side of the government. There is no any plague role in the election. The election is going smoothly and fair.
Absolutely.
And the reaction is completely positive.
Absolutely. Dr. Salah Abdallah, the political analyst and former MP, thank you very much, sir, for your time and your insight. And of course, as we continue our coverage here, we bring you more news where the Egyptian Political Parties Youth Coordination Committee, the YCC, announced that it did not monitor any irregularities that affected the electoral process in the first phase of the runoff round of the 2020 House of Representatives election, which started on Monday in 13 governorates across the country. The YCC said the supervisors said the electoral process witnessed a moderate turnout on the first day of the two-day runoff. Meanwhile, the operations room monitoring the elections observed a high turnout among female voters.